Hi everyone, I have something really special to share with you and something I couldn't be more excited about.
When a young performer takes on a song that generations of seasoned vocalists have struggled to master, it naturally raises questions about how and why it works. Lucy Thomas's recent Christmas performance has quietly drawn attention across social media, not because of controversy or promotion, but due to the unexpected response it generated among viewers. The song itself is familiar, often associated with nostalgia, tradition, and emotional restraint. Yet this rendition has been described by audiences as unusually composed, controlled, and mature. For many viewers, the moment felt less like a viral clip and more like a pause, something that required attention rather than scrolling past. From a reporting standpoint, what makes this performance notable is not simply vocal accuracy, but timing. Holiday music saturates digital platforms every year, making it increasingly difficult for any single performance to stand out. And yet, this one did. The question isn't whether Lucy Thomas sang well, that part is largely agreed upon, but why this particular rendition resonated so strongly at a time when attention spans are shorter than ever. As reactions continue to accumulate, the performance offers insight into how simplicity, control, and unexpected delivery can still capture public interest. And that response begins the moment the song starts. Viewers often decide within seconds whether to keep watching, and this performance appears to have passed that test almost immediately. Reports from audience comments and engagement data suggest that the opening moments of Lucy Thomas's Christmas performance were enough to stop viewers mid-scroll. There was no dramatic introduction or visual build-up. Instead, the focus remained entirely on the vocal delivery. Listeners noted a calm entry, measured packing, and a deliberate refusal to rush through the melody, a choice that contrasts sharply with many modern covers designed for quick impact. What stood out was the restraint. Rather than leaning into volume or theatrical phrasing, the performance maintained a steady tone that allowed the song's structure to speak for itself. This approach, according to viewers, created a sense of authenticity. Several comments referenced surprise, not because of spectacle, but because the delivery felt unexpectedly grounded. From an analytical perspective, this reaction highlights how audiences sometimes respond more strongly to understatement than amplification. The performance did not rely on novelty effects or reinterpretation. Instead, it trusted the material and the vocalist's ability to carry it. That trust appears to be what drew people in and kept them listening. But the effectiveness of that moment becomes even more notable when considering the song choice itself. Covering a well-known Christmas song can be one of the most challenging choices a singer can make. Seasonal music carries strong emotional associations, and listeners often have deeply ingrained expectations about how these songs should sound. For that reason, familiar holiday tracks leave little room for missteps. Any deviation can feel distracting, while imitation risks sounding forgettable. In this context, Lucy Thomas's decision to approach the song without embellishment stands out. Rather than altering the arrangement significantly, the performance leaned into clarity and control. This choice placed greater responsibility on vocal precision and emotional balance. Industry observers often note that simplicity increases scrutiny, as there are fewer elements to mask imperfections. Yet reactions indicate that this approach worked in her favor. Audience responses frequently reference how the performance avoided sounding overly rehearsed or artificially emotional. Instead, it maintained consistency, allowing listeners to connect with the song without feeling directed toward a specific emotional reaction. From a reporting standpoint, this suggests a careful understanding of the material and its audience. That understanding raises another question frequently mentioned by viewers: how such control is achieved at a young age. One of the most common viewer reactions centers on how a young voice can convey such composure. Public discussion surrounding Lucy Thomas often focuses on the perceived maturity of her vocal tone. Listeners describe a level of control typically associated with far more experienced performers. This has led to speculation, framed by fans as curiosity rather than accusation, about training methods, discipline, and natural aptitude. While there is no verified indication of unconventional preparation, the conversation itself is telling. In media coverage, this type of reaction often appears when audiences sense a contrast between expectation and outcome. In this case, the expectation of youthful exuberance is replaced by steadiness and restraint. From a journalistic perspective, it's important to separate speculation from fact. What can be confirmed is that consistent breath control, phrasing, and pitch stability are present throughout the performance. These elements contribute to the impression of maturity without requiring dramatic interpretation. However, with increased attention often comes increased pressure, a dynamic that frequently surfaces in discussions about young performers. Early recognition can create long-term expectations that are difficult to manage. As Lucy Thomas continues to gain visibility, conversations increasingly reference the idea of potential rather than present achievement. Viewers and commentators alike speculate about future development, longevity, and artistic direction. While much of this discussion is supportive, it also reflects a broader pattern seen in coverage of young artists. Media analysts note that labeling someone as exceptionally gifted at a young age can unintentionally raise the stakes of every subsequent performance. Each appearance is no longer viewed in isolation, but as a marker of progress or deviation. This dynamic, while not unique, is worth acknowledging. Importantly, there is no indication that this pressure has affected performance quality. If anything, the Christmas rendition suggests a focus on consistency rather than escalation. That approach may be intentional, allowing the performance to stand on its own rather than serve as a statement. Interestingly, this restraint may be precisely why the performance continues to resonate. Some performances feel anchored to a moment, while others seem to exist outside of it. Audience feedback frequently describes Lucy Thomas's Christmas performance as timeless. In reporting terms, this descriptor often emerges when a piece of content avoids trends and prioritizes fundamentals. Here, that includes clear vocal lines, traditional phrasing, and an absence of stylistic excess. The performance does not attempt to modernize the song or compete with seasonal releases. Instead, it presents the material in a way that could belong to multiple eras. This quality increases replay value, particularly during a season associated with tradition and repetition. From a media standpoint, timelessness often correlates with longevity. Content that avoids topical references or stylistic extremes tends to age more gracefully. This may explain why viewers continue returning to the performance even after repeated listens. That sustained engagement becomes especially clear when examining online reactions. The strongest indicator of impact is often how audiences choose to respond. Comment sections and sharing patterns reveal a consistent theme, viewers describing quiet emotional reactions rather than dramatic ones. Words like calming, comforting, and unexpected appear frequently. Notably, the response lacks the polarized reactions often seen with viral content. From an analytical perspective, this suggests organic engagement rather than algorithm-driven spikes. The performance appears to spread through recommendation rather than controversy. That type of circulation is less common, particularly in saturated seasonal content. The tone of the feedback also aligns with the performance itself, measured, reflective, and focused on the music rather than the performer's image. For reporters, this alignment between content and reception is a strong indicator of authenticity, which leads to a broader conclusion about why this performance stands out. Not every widely shared performance relies on spectacle to make an impact. Lucy Thomas's Christmas rendition demonstrates how restraint, clarity and respect for source material can still capture public attention. Rather than pushing boundaries, the performance reinforces fundamentals, and in doing so, distinguishes itself from seasonal noise. From a news perspective, the significance lies not in virality alone, but in the type of response generated. Viewers didn't just watch, they paused, listened, and reflected. In an environment driven by speed and volume, that reaction is notable. As holiday performances continue to flood digital platforms, this one serves as a reminder that sometimes the most effective approach is the simplest, delivered with care, consistency,